So this is day one, and we had Kaylee's dad up to help for the first day. So starting off by just getting everything off the patio so we've got a nice clear space to work with. Stage one is to actually put the floor out and mark out what's happening at the back. We were doing that and I realised I wasn't being very much help at all, so I disappeared for a bit and went and got some breakfast food. So you can just see Kaylee and her dad, Tony, getting all that floor all nice and level and all with all those beams in the right place. Then we stopped and had breakfast, let Frank out for a little bit, and then now the next stage is to start building the walls. Now these are they all slot together kind of tongue and groove style, but took a bit of time at the start to make sure that we had everything in the exact right position. And there were a few bits where we needed to just read forward a little bit and just cut a few little bits and pieces just to make sure that everything was just right. So then we start building the walls. We start side by side, and at the back you can see them start to go up. Once we got to about this height, about 6-7 planks high, we pushed it into the right place where we wanted it to be forever, because we weren't going to be able to do that again. And then we started on the floor, and the floor was an awful lot of nailing. Again, tongue and groove boards, getting them all together. Kaylee's in there, getting them into position on the left, I'm there in the middle, and Tony over on the right. Got those all into the right positions, and then the very last ones we had to do a little bit of cutting just to get them the right size. And then my job became hammering those in endlessly, and I'm there on the floor just hammering nails into those boards, getting them all fixed in place, while Kaylee and her dad were building the rest of the walls. So they're doing that, and I'm just hammering and hammering nails. I think I hammered something like 400, maybe 450 nails, just to get all those floorboards in. So that's what's happening at the moment, and that took a good few hours of me on the floor and Kaylee and her dad building the walls. Once we got to a certain stage, there's that little annoying freestanding wall in the middle, because our building has two doors. It has doors on the left for a summer house and doors on the right for a shed. Here I am trying to work out the next stages while Kaylee's dad was packing up his stuff and to head home. You can see the sun creeping in, and I'm trying to work out what on earth we've got to do next. That was most of the first day. We did a little bit more in terms of trying to get the doors and bits and pieces in, but we realised that we weren't going to be able to do much more that day, so we didn't try to really push on. The next stage was really about the roof, and we looked at doing that the next day. We thought we were going to get the roof and the doors done in one day, but I think it turned out that we only really managed to get the roof done. So at the moment I'm in there doing a little bit of supports, putting some supports in place, and then tidying up, and that's the end of day one. So day two started after we'd set up by just finishing off the internal wall. Now the internal wall has a slope to it. The whole building has one big slopey roof from front to the back. But the pieces of wood we had to fill that gap were essentially too long. They were longer than the inside of the building. So we had to trim them. Then we had to essentially make sure that they were the right triangle shape to fit. So there we are doing lots of modifications. Once we got those in, we then had to just go along the edges of the building, just trimming little bits off, and that's what you'll see me doing in just a second. There I am. But unfortunately the time lapse for this day actually failed, so we're going to cut to another video summarising where we got up to. So unfortunately the time lapse stopped working yesterday, so I thought I'd just give a little update on what we did. So basically yesterday's job was putting the roof on. Now that meant we had to start off inside, putting in all this framing support. Then we put these big long things in. These are called purlins. So we pop those in, and they're in both the summer house side and also in the shed side. Then once we'd got all of those on and nicely lined up, we had to put all the roof boards on. And so that was a case of putting one at a time. See if I can hold that up. One at a time. So starting here, and then each one by one, interlocking all the way up. And then doing that on one side of the building, and then onto the other side of the building. And then once we'd finished that, we had to put this strip, this little trim, all the way along the edge and all edges, and that was particularly fun down this edge where we've got the hedge kind of blocking it, so I had to crawl in there and try and put that on, and that's going to be so we can attach the felt to it. So today's job is going to be doors, so doors, and then some roof felt, and then a little bit of internal trim and some finishing off. So yeah, should get it finished today. So day 3, and we actually had to start with a few more modifications again, because as we started to put the door frames in, we realised that we had quite a big gap at the top, and essentially our door frames were too big for our doors. So we had to find some other pieces of wood, figure out different options of what we could do, and we ended up having to take some little bits out, and you can see us doing some modifications there, taking a plank out and essentially replacing that with a slightly wider plank. But we had to find some bits that we had, cut those to size. So yeah, more modifications needed, but we figured it out and we got everything in. So once we'd kind of made those modifications and got those extra planks in, there you can see us just putting those in. We could put the door frames in, and those are then going to hold the doors. So getting all those door frames in, and then it was a case of measuring everything, getting everything cut to the right size. So we measured up the doors, got everything lined up, got that all fixed in place, and then the doors for the Summerhouse on the left for the patio, they needed some perspex putting in, so we need to put some perspex and then some beading in. Kaylee's there measuring all the hinges up, getting those in place. While she's doing that, I'm doing a lot of the internal trim. So there's a load of internal bits and pieces that fit inside. Just there, the dog walker came round. So came round with one of Frank's friends. We had a little chat in the garden for a bit, and then Frank went off. And then we got back to it, so putting some internal trim all the way around inside. I'm doing that, and around the edges as well, so lots of little bits and pieces just trying to help it close. Quick lunch and then back to it, doing some more of those kind of edge pieces. Kaylee's measuring bits, getting the doors all sorted so that those get ready to go on. All this stuff was quite fiddly, quite time consuming. It was a lot of stuff where it took us a little bit of time to figure out. Frank came back there, and then we finally got the doors constructed. You can see the sun's starting to creep in, so time's beginning to tick. Doors are made, so now it's a case of hanging them properly. We actually did that much quicker than I thought we were going to. I thought getting the doors on was going to be a real pain, but we actually had a really good system for that, and so that worked quite well. And then once that was done, it was moving on to the roof. So we needed to clear a bit of space, make some room, and then start cutting the roof felt. So we measured the roof, rolled out our roof felt, cut that to the right size, and to start with I climbed onto the roof and tried to do it from up there, but it didn't feel the most secure, so I got off there pretty quick. But putting the roof felt on was quite quick. We had a staple gun, so it was just a case of leaning over and stapling it in, tacking it in all the way around. While I'm doing that, Kaylee's cutting all the kind of side fascia boards to the right length, and then we used those and put those up all around the edges to help seal it all off. So that was essentially the end of day 3. And by that stage, it was pretty much finished. There's just some door closures and some more internal bits. So what I'll do is I'll do a final walk around of where it's up to now, and you'll be able to see the finished product. But yeah, 3-day build. Instructions said 4 to 6 hours, so not too sure about that. So here it is, starting off from the house and walking towards the new summer house. So this is what it looks like, how it fits into the garden. You can see the shed bit on the right, summer house on the left. So if we go and have a look in the shed, at the moment it's not got much in it, but a nice big space. We're going to put a load of shelving up into there. We're just storing a few bits and pieces in there for now. And on the other side, let's close that off. If I open up the doors, so that's one door, I'll just get the other one. And so that's the other side of it. So at the moment we've put a chair, rug, some shelving. We've got some sweet peas which are just hiding from the cold. If I turn around and sit down, this is our view. So view back to the house. And we can see just the hedge along the edge there. But yeah, we just need to get some lighting in here as well. I'm going to sort out some solar lighting at some point. But yeah, that's the summer house. You can see round the side, we've already put our little potting table there. We've got all that edging along here, just holding all the roof felt in place. This is the morning, so it's not in the sun right now. But the sun will creep round and basically this gets all the evening sun. So that's probably where we're going to spend all of our evenings. Brilliant. So that's our summer house.